Hi, I'm Rob Walker, and you're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi, welcome to ForBassPlayersOnly.com. I'm John Liebman, founder and first baseman. You know, a lot of people think they're too old or it's too late for them to learn how to play an instrument. So I created ForBassPlayersOnly.com for people mostly over 50 who want to learn how to play bass, because I believe you're never too old and it's never too late to experience the joy and the pleasure of making music. ForBassPlayersOnly.com. This is the place. We've got a special guest this week. Rob Walker lives in Arizona. He works in sales and marketing. He's a longtime music fan. Found out about me from my bass aerobics book. He joined the Bottom Line Club, my membership program at For Bass Players Only. Oh, there it is. I wasn't expecting that. That's always nice. I've gotten to know Rob a little bit over the couple of years, I guess, since he's been in the Bottom Line Club. He's now able to do some things that he wasn't able to do before, and he's got an interesting story that I think you'll find inspiring and helpful for anyone really who wants to learn how to play bass. So, hello, Rob. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing, John? Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Now, as I understand it, you were somewhat of a reluctant bass player. You wanted to be a guitar player, and you offered or volunteered to play the bass because there were already plenty of guitar players. That is, out of the 800 and some people that I've interviewed, bass players, that's the story of probably about 99% of them. That's my story too. You can play guitar and not be in the band, or you can play bass and be in the band. Is that kind of how you got started with the bass?
How it is, John. I was in a local band, Rory Steele, and there's numerous guitar players in the band, of course, and everybody was having a great time, and we were working on some cover tunes. We did have a substitute bass player. He was in there for a while, but he dropped out. And it's like the Paul McCartney thing. Everybody's looking up at the ceiling and whistling and, not going to volunteer. So I decided to take it upon me to learn to play bass. I said, it can't be that difficult, right? There's some similarities to the guitar. Of course, as we find out later, there are some challenges, differences. So that's how it all began.
Did you start listening to music differently after that? Were you listening, were you picking out the bass lines on records, or when you listen to the radio?
It's funny with when you're listening to a classic rock song or anything, or watching a band play live, it's like the bass is something you take for granted in the background. Before I was learning how to play bass, but you take that bass out, you take all that wonderful deep end and low end, and it's like listening to a transistor radio, that tinny sound. It's just poor quality. What happened? What happened? Is it an audio problem? So now I'm listening to the bass, and I'm listening to all these classic rock artists like Jack Bruce, Supreme, and Paul McCartney, of course, a big fan of his. Bill Wyman of the Stones, listening to some of his early stuff. His list is on, but you start to listen. You start to hear what they're doing, how they're moving towards adding their own touch, which is quite exciting.
I agree.
There it is.
No argument from me. Well, what did you have in mind when you joined the Bottom Line Club? What were you looking for? What were you hoping to get out of it?
Well, this is how it all happened, how I met John Liebman. All right, so here I am and minding my own business in Guitar Center and looking for a bass. And I came across their musical selection, their books, the Hal Leonard things like that. And lo and behold, yes, the old bass aerobics was in there. And I looked at it, I opened it up, and I thought, wow, this is manageable. I can do this. There's a CD. I could play along with it. Fun. And it was very helpful. It just kind of gave me some direction, what I was looking for.
You got a CD with your book? Because that was one of the older ones, I think.
It's an older version, yeah. So,
and now it's all online. My first book, Funk Bass, came out in November of 1992. It came with a cassette tape right there in the cover.
think I still have a few cassettes around the house. Yeah. Nice. Very good. So I that's how I kind of learned about you, John. It was, then you explore on the internet and I find out that you're interviewing all these fantastic bassists that I admired over the years. I go, wow, this guy must be somebody. I would find out a little bit more about John Liebman. Then I learned that you had lessons that you offered, and that's how it all started with me. I became a member of the Bottom Line Club, and also a member of the Power Grooving Club as well.
Right. Yeah. You purchased the digital course, Power Grooving.
Yeah, Power Grooving. I really enjoyed that one as well too.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that. So what were you looking to learn? Is there something specific that you just felt like you were missing in your bass playing that a gap that you wanted to fill?
Well, I wanted a foundation, John. I needed something with structure because, when you're on the internet, you're overwhelmed with all the possibilities out there, and it can be overwhelming. I mean, I started off with this guy, Bass for Dummies, right? So I said, I need a foundation. The book was very helpful.
Patrick Pfeiffer, I interviewed him. Great guy.
Patrick, yes. I got to look at that interview, but I just needed something that was a little more basic, gave me some foundation. It's like building a house. You can't start with the attic first. You got to go at the basement, work your way up. And that's what I want. I needed some grounding. I found that with your lessons, I was able to latch onto them. And here's the best part that works best for me, John. I've always had this thing about when you're playing guitar or bass, you're kind of cheating at the neck, right? When you're playing. That's me, because I sing and play bass and I sing and play guitar as well. And it's a skill set trying to be able to play the bass and the guitar while you're playing with the band without looking at your hand while trying to sell a song when you're playing live. Now that's a skill in itself. I was looking at some early Beatles video when they were playing at the Ed Sullivan Show, for example. Not once did they look at their hands. That kind of basic, amateur kind of stuff that a lot of us do when we're starting out. Pros, I'm like, yes, that's where I want to be. So when I play your music, I challenge myself when you're going up the neck, you're way down on the 10th fret. I'm not looking at my hands. You see, I'm playing with you. I could go back to a certain passage if it's too difficult and repeat, rinse and repeat until I've mastered it and keep going and just where I feel very strong about it. One thing I like about yours is you've got two sections. One's the slow it down, right? Slow it down, bring it down to a crawl, which I recommend you do whenever you're starting something new. Take it slow, bit by bit, and then when you get a little more confident, take it to the next step, which is that standard speed, which is great too. But that's one of the things I was looking for, John. I wanted something to challenge me like that and slowly develop my craft. And it's been very helpful.
Do you play along with the backing tracks that come with all the lessons?
Backing tracks, they're great. I don't know how you recorded them or what, or did you have a live band or how did it all work out, but it works out very well for me. I can play with it, take it with me, whatever I want to do. It's good stuff. Yeah, I could print them off too. I could print the PDF file off, and, put it in a folder, attack it later, look at it, things like that. Use a metric if I want, whatever I want to do, it's good.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're getting a lot out of it. So talk to me. You've been, I should have looked it up. I don't remember exactly how long you've been a member, but tell me some of the things you can do now that you couldn't do before you joined the Bottom Line Club.
Well, one of them was just basically, I'm trying to work on reading music. Okay. I understand the bass clef and the treble clef. I've played piano before in the past. I'm still keeping those chops up. But I'm trying to get away from tab, which is, I think, a crutch for a lot of musicians. Me, one of them. But I'm trying to learn how to read from the musical notation as it's written. That's where I'm working. And yours is helpful.
So you've gone through the sight reading course that's in the Bottom Line Club?
Yeah, I go back and I do all those modules and the power grooving. I'm having a great time. It's been a while since I did the Bottom Line Club, but when I went back and looked at it, I redid the soft rock. Thought that was nice, but I see that you're revamping it, which I'm kind of excited about as well. And you're revamping some other areas in there as well too, which I'm excited too. Supposed to roll out in June, John.
Yes, I was working on it just before. Oh yeah, it'll be out. Well, this interview, actually, this interview is going to be up by the time this interview goes live, it'll be up. The first phase of it.
Nice.
What I'm doing is taking. I have a course called Rock, and it's got, I think, 10 lessons in it, and I also have a soft rock course. But looking at the very, very early lessons that I did in the Bottom Line Club. Actually, those videos in that one course in particular were shot in, like, I think October of 2012. Oh. And, honestly, I'm not bragging, but I think I've gotten a lot better at it since then. And I also have a much better idea and a feeling of what the people want. And I'm redoing that rock course into 4 phases. The first one, which will be up in June, is called Early Rock. So that is playing the styles of music from the 50s and into the early 60s. Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, Little Richard, into early Beatles, Rolling Stones, Everly Brothers, 50s, 60s, and also, Beach Boys, all that kind of stuff. The next course, a completely separate course, will be classic rock. And then a third course will be hard rock / metal. And the fourth one is going to be, I'm going to redo the soft rock course. I don't need some major changes to that, but I want to make it more consistent with the production and the framework, mostly because of the Groove Grower framework. I'd like to put more of that into that course. So I'll have, through the decades, rock bass styles that you can learn to play. But the goal is not only to just learn my music. Yeah, I want the students to do that, but the backing tracks, one with bass and one without. Once you understand the essence of the style and the feel, I want you to you could look at the music, but just look at the chords, or most of them are just 3 chords. You probably don't have to look at the music, 1, 4, and 5 chord, and just play in that style to develop your own bass lines, your own bass grooves. That is the whole goal of everything in the Bottom Line Club. So I'm very excited about it, and I'm rolling that out starting in June, and by the end of the summer, all 4 of those will be up. And I've redone some of the other early ones too, the beginners one, the easy one, the basics one, and people are really liking them a lot. And I added a soul course. A lot of fans of the music of the 60s and 70s. That is a lot of my audience, about 91% male. And most of the students are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. They're not career bound. They're not trying to, get a tour with, Stevie Wonder or Black Sabbath or or anybody like that. They just want to play some classic rock riffs with their buddies, or some blues shuffles, or some walking bass lines, maybe a little funk R&B. And a lot of them, interestingly, don't really care that much about playing with other people. They are perfectly content just sitting at home and learning and practicing the bass, which I was a little surprised at the beginning, but I guess that makes sense. Now, I know you like to play. You play in your church, I think, don't you?
I do that. I keep my chops up there, and it's challenging there because you're getting new music every week, and you've got a drummer, and you've got a guitar player, and myself as the bassist, and you've got the musical director who's the keyboardist, and you've got the choir. So it's challenging for me because I have to learn the music, and then you got the other guys that I'm playing with as well. So it keeps me on my toes, learning new chops as well, and that's where your stuff comes in handy, because I'm finding the connectors with what I'm looking for. It's how to transition from certain chords, and when I first started learning bass, it was the basic stuff. You got the roots. You got your thirds, you got your fifths, you got your arpeggios. Those are your basic stuff. But I wanted a little bit more in the cake, and one more of the icing on there. I wanted how I could embellish. How can I go from one chord to the other and make it sound good versus this or that? I'm finding that more with your 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 information, your music that you're providing with the Bottom Line Club, the Power Grooving. I think it's fantastic. And one of the things I wanted to bring your attention to, I was just looking at that yesterday, was the fact that you've got all these different sections. If you want to play with the band, as you like to say, all you have is the chord chart, the lead sheet, and you're playing along, maybe embellishing or improvising yourself along with the original track. Or if you want to just follow along with only the actual musical notation without the tab, that's an option. Or if you just want to do the tab, you can do that. But there's great ways to be able to improvise. I like how it keeps me regimented, that I have to stay in time. And that's, you got that steady beat, which I like. I'm just one of those guys that want to play live too. I mean, you want to learn, learning the instrument. I want to get out and play with other people, and that's why I have my own music and I play with other bands and things like that. But I think it starts with the foundation. You need a strong foundation. I think, John, that's where you come in very helpful. That's why I started.
Thank you. I'm glad you're getting a lot out of it. And a lot of those things you just mentioned, the list of things you just rattled off, are the result of suggestions that I've gotten from students over the years. I've been doing this for a while already. And I invite people, tell me what you like, what you don't like, what should I do more of, less of, what should I get rid of, what should I add? So a lot of those things that you mentioned are directly results from directly result from the suggestions that I've gotten to make it better. Hey, I just thought of another question. What about the people that you play with in your church or anywhere else? Have you gotten any comments like, "Hey, Rob, you're really sounding good these days. Are you taking lessons? You practicing, or what are you doing?"
Well, yeah, that's true. When I first started playing with my church, it was back to the fifths, the arpeggio, it was the roots and the thirds. But now I can embellish a little bit more, and locking in with the drummer is so important. He's pretty good. And my confidence is there. It makes me feel better about what I'm doing. I was first a guitarist. I still play guitar as well. I think it's great that you could play other instruments, incorporate the best from others. And I think that could be fun in terms of applying it to your bass playing. I do play with a pick, right? And many bassist purists may say, plays with a pick, oh my gosh. But I don't think there's a right or wrong way to play bass. I think that's whatever you feel right in doing, and the music feels good to you, right? So
tell that to Carol Kay or Paul McCartney.
She played with a pick on hundreds of songs, I understand. And Paul McCartney was a pick player. Plays, I guess sometimes he played with his fingers. It's funny, John, when I play acoustic guitar, for example, I will play with my fingers many times. You play acoustic guitar, but then for me, it feels a little strange playing bass with my fingers. I don't know, it's some phobia I have. But pick up a pick and attack it like a Chris Squire. Whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I just feel I need to mention there's nothing wrong with playing just the roots, the fifths, the arpeggios, the simple stuff. The other stuff, the embellishments, I know you know this, but I just don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. In most cases, you want to keep that, you want to be able to do that stuff and keep it in your back pocket and bring it out when it helps the song. Not to say, hey, look what I can do now. And I know you know that, Rob. It's not for you. It's for the benefit of, I just want them to know that I know that, and that's what I teach, and that's what I instill. And, with great chops comes great responsibility. So make sure that we all keep that in mind, myself included.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the first songs I learned on bass actually was from U2, With or Without You. It's a very straightforward bass line by Adam Clayton. Not terribly difficult, but he holds that song together like glue. It's very, very important.
We just published an interview with him about 2 months ago, I think, on For Bass Players Only.
You read that one, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a new amp, I think, with Fender, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So, is there anything else that you're working on? You mentioned the foundation, and you mentioned sight reading. Anything else that you're working on now, or that's on your list of things that you want to learn on the bass, in addition to what you already mentioned?
Well, I think it's important. You always challenge yourself. I mean, there's a lot of, I like to analyze music, bass lines. A lot of them are very difficult. It might be beyond your scope or your musicality or ability. But I like to challenge myself at times as well. I mean, a lot of the lines from John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin are challenging. Of course, John Entwistle, the Who, he was like a lead bassist in many ways. And Paul McCartney has his ways of doing things as well, which is always very challenging. I think you can learn a lot by just listening to McCartney's lines from the early days when he was playing a lot of fifths and roots until, gosh, something is just phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
It's gorgeous, very melodic.
I was interviewing somebody recently. He said, "How could he play so busy and not get in the way in that song in particular, in something?" So I was like, yeah, I think he's just magical. He's got an uncanny ability to know exactly what a song needs and how to give it to it.
I agree 100%. I just want to keep challenging myself and get better. And I think learning songs can be one of those ways of doing that. Having good instruction, you got to have a foundation. I want to go back to that again. That's where you come in, John. Great foundation. Start at the beginning. You've got courses in your bottom line club, which attack the basics. You work your way up. If you're looking to increase your confidence, maybe one day you want to play with other people. Maybe you have some friends in the neighborhood that one of them plays a guitar.
Chances are.
We were talking about most people play guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny how I got into music in the first place. It was my family weren't very musical. Yeah, you had the radio on, things like that. But it was a buddy of mine whose father played in the band, right? And he was in a classic rock band. He was playing at clubs and things like that. And he was playing all those early hits that you were talking earlier, playing Yardbirds, Beatles, Stones, Cream, and all these other playing live. And I was mesmerized. I mean, this was fantastic. And when the band came in to play with him, the drums, fantastic. And then the bass came in. But, I didn't really think about the bass. It was almost like a given. But, man, it was powerful. But my eyes were first drawn to what he was doing on the frets, right?
You were about how old at the time?
I was about 19 years of age.
Okay.
I got into music late. So now it's like when I'm looking at a concert, I'm at a concert while watching a video, I'm looking at the guitarist, what he's doing. I'm looking at the bassist, what he's doing. What's he doing with that? How is he holding the bottom line? Is he playing on a 5-string bass or more? I think 4 is all I can handle. I think that's good for me. But it's how are they holding in? Is he locked in with the drummer? Is he? How's it working? It's fantastic for me. You take away the bass, you don't have a song. That's the groove. The bassist, in some ways, you can lead the band. It's. I think I read that on Sting actually, and that's true. You can move that song a little bit in the direction you want by your bass player. So I think it's a beautiful instrument. I love the sound. Next thing you know, you got something your wife will yell at you about because you're starting to collect too many basses. Like that does happen. But you'll have fun. The most important thing is have fun with it.
Absolutely. What advice do you have, or what other advice do you have for somebody who wants to learn bass? What do you think they should do?
Well, I think one is get yourself a good bass that you feel comfortable with, and you can go down to whatever guitar shop is local with you. I go to the Guitar Center or something like that. You can sit there and go into one of the rooms or get an amplifier and play with it. Maybe find one that you connect with. but you got to get into some instruction. I think that will really cut the corners quickly. You'll feel confident about what you're doing. Get to know the notes on the fretboard. You got to know those notes. We're all octaves on it. Got to know that fretboard backwards and forwards, and you got to put time in. Don't wait until the weekend to work on your bass. That's a 7-day gap. You got to do a little bit every day. 30 minutes would be probably good, maybe more if you have time. Keep those fingers nimble. Keep challenging yourself. Sign up with John Liebman, darn it.
That's great. Well, thank you, Rob. I should mention, if anybody wants to try out my lessons, I have a free 3-part video series called Bass Groove Basics. And you can watch that again for free. Just go to ForBassPlayersOnly.com/BGB. It stands for Bass Groove Basics. And you can just sign up for it right there. It's totally free, and enjoy it and see what you think. We'd like to get you playing bass, because obviously that's what you want to do if you're still watching this. Thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate the time, and keep doing what you're doing. You're a shining example of what somebody can do when they want to learn how to play the bass, and they're serious about it, and they're determined. And even if they started reluctantly, like most of us have, there's a lot to love about the instrument itself, and that comes through loud and clear from you. So I thank you very much for joining me today.
Pleasure. Thank you, John, for having me.
You're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com. I'm John Liebman, founder and first baseman. A lot of people think they're too old or it's too late for them to learn how to play an instrument. So I created ForBassPlayersOnly.com for people mostly over 50, not always, but mostly, who want to play bass, because I believe you're never too old and it's never too late to experience the joy and the pleasure of making music. ForBassPlayersOnly.com, this is the place. Thanks again to Rob Walker. I will see you all next week, same time, same place. In the meantime, let's play bass.